Hello everyone, my name is Reactjs. I'm a SharePoint developer, and today we're going to talk about SharePoint Framework React unit testing. I'll try to make a few videos and fit within 5 minutes with some short tips how you can do unit testing. And at the moment you're seeing a pretty much hello world SharePoint Framework solution based on the React template. The only difference here is that I've installed more packages in order to unit test properly React component and make my life easier. So by default, these are the testing tools we have within the packages. I've just installed a few more, but let me go through all the testing tools we have here very quickly. So Mocha is a feature-rich JavaScript testing framework, something similar to for the .NET developers to NUnit or XUnit. So if I go to hooks, a bit down, and you see how it looks. I'll just try to compare it with NUnit. I have a very basic sample opened with NUnit here. As you can see, this is my suite. This is the text feature for the NUnit. Then we have expected exception tests, like the class name. In our case, that's the suite name. Then we have a very basic test for NUnit with the name of the test, and that is our test in Mocha with the name of the test here. We also have a pre-built hooks. We can run some setup before the tests, after the test, or before each test, or after each test. So a rich framework with many utilities. You can go here and have a look for more details. And where we can see it in our solution. So if we go to test, we'll see that same scope here. We have described the name of the suite, and then we have before hook doing something here. In my case, I just mounted that component, and we have the actual test with the test name here. Okay. The next in the list is Chai. So Chai is an assertion library, and let me show you the Chinable getters. So it's all about fluency here. As you can see, there is the assertion, and then it builds a very fluent human readable assertions. For example, we expect this object not to have property B, and see how fluent these chain getters may be chained and then organized in a human readable sentence even. How we use it in our code, if I go here, you'll see expect element to exist, but I can also say expect element to be exist, or I can even say expect element to exist. Just exist, depend on how human readable we'd like to organize this assertion. The next in the line is enzyme. So enzyme is I think utility for React that makes it easier to assert and more mount and also traverse React components. So we'll be using it to mount React components, traverse through the elements, and test various elements within the components. If I go here, you will see that I'm using mount and React wrapper from enzyme. I also have the typings here on the top. Down below we have the React wrapper, and as you can see, I can mount a React component here. Alternatively, we can do it in a different way, like that. So in an XML, HTML fashion, we can load that React component here, but bear in mind, this is a TS file by default, and you should rename it to TSX so you can use the JSX templating system here. And then once that component is mounted by enzyme, we can use enzyme CSS selectors to find elements within the React component and check if these elements exist. This is a very basic sample, but as you can see, that is my CSS selector. I'm using it to find an element, and that's a method part of the enzyme. So we have all the packages installed, ready to start our testing, and let's run the very first test that we rolled. So we say go test down below in the terminal. That will spin up a headless browser called Python.js, and it spin up a Karma server that will run our tests underneath, and if we are lucky, the test that I just wrote here will pass. And that is our test execution, and it says that the test passed. And by the way, this is a very simple web part, and I'm using that selector here to verify if an element exists, but if we go into the template, you will in fact see that that should be my selector, and the element actually exists, so our test is succeeded. That's for the very first demo. Thank you very much, and we'll go into the next one related to debugging.